When you open your Bible right at the beginning, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, it can feel, well, a little intimidating, right? It seems like this dense collection of ancient laws and really confusing stories. But what if it's not 5 separate books at all? What if it's one single, epic, and totally unified story? Okay, let's dive in and really unpack God's foundational story together. First things first, let's get our terms right. We so often hear these 5 books called the Law, but the original Hebrew word Torah, it doesn't really mean law. A much better translation is instruction or direction, and the Greek term Pentateuch, that just means 5 books. Thinking of it as God's foundational instruction is a game changer. It's not some list of rules, it's more like a loving father guiding his kids on how to actually live in relationship with him.
So we're going to walk through this whole story in 4 main acts. First up, we'll see how the promise gets made. Then we'll see how a people are redeemed. After that, how that people is prepared for their destiny. And then finally, we're going to connect all the dots and see why this ancient story is absolutely crucial for us today.
All right, Act 1. Our story begins, as it has to, in the book of Genesis. I mean, everything that follows in the entire Bible finds its roots right here, in the very beginning of the world, of humanity, and of God's sovereign plan to rescue a world that has gone terribly wrong. Now, Genesis itself kind of breaks down into 2 major movements. The first 11 chapters, that's what scholars call primeval history. It's the grand, sweeping story of creation, the fall, the flood, the Tower of Babel, the big picture. But then from chapter 12 on, it's like the camera zooms way in on one specific family, the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And it's through them that God is going to kick off his plan of redemption. So what's the central problem that the rest of the Bible is trying to solve? Well, Genesis chapter 3 lays it all out for us in the story of the fall. Humanity, created in God's own image, chooses rebellion. And that act of sin, it creates this deep separation, a fracture in the relationship between God and his creation. This is the core tension that's going to drive the entire biblical story. But God doesn't just abandon his creation, no way. Instead, he initiates his solution, a covenant, a binding promise. Genesis 12 is the major turning point. God calls one man, Abraham, and gives him this unbelievable promise. I will make you into a great nation, and all peoples on earth will be blessed through you. See, this isn't just about one family. This is the very beginning of God's plan to bless the entire world. So let's move into Act 2 and see how this all builds. God takes that family from Genesis, who are now enslaved in Egypt, and he starts to forge them into the great nation he promised. In Exodus and Leviticus, God doesn't just rescue his people, he starts to reveal his very character to them. Now here's something you have got to catch. The order of operations here is so important. Pay close attention to this pattern because it's the pattern of the gospel itself. God acts first. His grace, his rescue, his deliverance, it always comes before he gives any commands. Listen to God's declaration in Exodus 6:6. He says, I will bring you out. I will free you. I will redeem you. Did you notice all the I wills? Redemption is God's idea, his initiative. He powerfully saves his people from slavery, not because they earned it, but because he is a faithful, promise-keeping God. It's only after the rescue, after the redemption, that the call to obedience comes. So now that God has saved his people and has actually come to live among them in the tabernacle, a whole new question comes up. How can a sinful people possibly live in the presence of a perfectly holy God? And that's exactly where the book of Leviticus comes in. You can think of it as the instruction manual for this brand new reality. The central command, the one that everything else is built on, is right here in Leviticus 19:2. Be holy because I, the Lord your God, am holy. God is calling his redeemed people to reflect his character to the rest of the world. So you see, Leviticus isn't just a random collection of outdated rules. It's a super practical guide. It explains how to worship a holy God through sacrifices that cover their sin. It outlines the jobs of the priests who stand between God and the people. It provides laws for everyday holy living. And so, importantly, it teaches Israel how to be a distinct people, totally set apart from the nations around them, to be God's own special treasure. Okay, this brings us to Act 3, a people prepared. The books of Numbers and Deuteronomy, they cover the journey through the wilderness. And this isn't just them killing time. It's a period of testing, of discipline, and of preparation for the next generation to finally inherit the promise God made all the way back to Abraham. The book of Numbers shows this really stark contrast between two generations. The first one, the generation that came out of Egypt, they are just marked by constant grumbling and unbelief. As Numbers 14 tells us, they tested God again and again, and in the end rejected the promised land. But God's plan doesn't fail. He raises up a new generation, their kids, and he prepares them to enter the land and receive the covenant all over again. It's just this powerful picture of God's absolute faithfulness, even when people fail.
Deuteronomy is the grand finale of the Torah. It's basically a series of farewell speeches from Moses to this new generation who are standing on the very edge of the promised land. He goes over their history, he restates the law, and he passionately calls them to renew their covenant commitment to God. And right at the heart of everything Moses says is this verse from Deuteronomy chapter 6, known as the Shema. This is the absolute core of the Torah. The law isn't ultimately about just checking boxes and following rules. It's about relationship. It's a call to love the one true God with everything you have. Your heart, your soul, your strength. This is what true obedience is all about. So, we've walked through the whole story, the promise, the redemption, the preparation, but so what? What does it all mean for us today? In our final act, let's bring all these threads together and see why this ancient foundation is so essential. This table just gives us a fantastic bird's-eye view of the whole story. In Genesis, God makes a promise. In Exodus, he redeems his people to fulfill that promise. In Leviticus, he teaches them how to be holy. In Numbers, he tests and disciplines them on their journey. And in Deuteronomy, he prepares them by renewing that covenant. You see, it's not 5 books, it's one beautiful, coherent story. And here is the thing you absolutely have to get. You cannot fully understand the mission of Jesus without understanding the Torah. The Torah establishes the problem of sin, God's pattern of redemption by grace, the need for a sacrifice, the call to holiness, the centrality of a covenant relationship. It builds the entire theological framework that Jesus steps into and fulfills perfectly. And that leaves us with a final thought to carry with us. The Torah isn't just some ancient history of Israel. It's the beginning of our story too. It's the foundation. So the next time you're reading the prophets, or the Psalms, or the New Testament, I want to leave you with this question. Knowing the beginning of the story, this incredible foundation of promise, redemption, and holiness, how does that change how you read the rest?